The first step to laying out your radial design is to make a big X on the paper. You will line up your ruler with the corner or the corner of your paper and draw a really light line across in one direction. This is a diagonal line in one direction. And then you will do the same thing in the other direction. You're going to line up the corner of your paper with your ruler. Remember, it's exceptionally important that you are very accurate with this step. Otherwise, your design will not transfer correctly. So you're going to start with an X in the middle of your paper. Then you are going to line your ruler up with the edge of the paper, and you are going to make a mark at 6 inches. You are going to do this on all 4 edges of the paper. 6 inches represents the halfway point between one edge of your paper and the other edge of your paper. And this is going to hopefully intersect with the center of your X that you just made. So I'm marking that 6 inches on all 4 sides. Remember that you should be drawing light, and you need to line up your ruler with the edge of the paper here. There we go, 6 inches on all 4 edges. Next, I'm going to take my ruler and I'm going to connect those 2 6-inch tick marks. If I have done this accurately, it should also intersect with where the X intersects. So I'm essentially making a big plus on my paper. So I'll have 1 X and 1 plus. There we go. So there's where I'm at so far. Now it is time to get out our compass. When you are starting with the compass, you should make sure that the tip of the pencil and the anchor point of this compass are pretty much at the same point. You don't want this pencil to be sticking out really far, or you don't want it to be really short. And this compass should be relatively tight so it does not fall out of place. You're going to set your compass to 4 1/2 inches. That's going to be 3 1/2, 4 1/2. So it's going to be halfway between the 4-inch mark and the 5-inch mark. So there it is on my compass, halfway between the 4 and the 5. I'm going to place the anchor point of my compass in the center where all of these lines intersect, and I'm going to place it on the paper, and I'm actually going to rotate my paper while holding my anchor point in place to make a circle. If I am making a 4 1/2 inch, if my compass is set to 4 1/2 inches, that means half of my circle is 4 1/2 inches, so in total it should be 9 inches. Next, I need to divide each of these pie slices or these pizza slices in half. So instead of having 8 sections, I have 16 sections. To do that, I'm not going to change my compass at all. I am going to leave my compass at 4 1/2, and I'm going to place that anchor point where the line intersects the circle that I just drew. I'm going to have my pencil pointed in this neighboring pizza slice or this neighboring pie slice, and I'm going to line it up on each of the intersection points, and I'm going to make these little crosshairs in each one of the pie slices. So I'm going in one direction. I am spinning my paper around as I get each section with a line drawn in it. Okay, so there's the first direction. Now I actually need to go back in the opposite direction, so I make an X. This is a little bit tricky to kind of visualize at first, so just kind of play around with that compass until you get it doing what you want it to do. We're essentially making little X's inside each of these pie slices. Remember, I'm lining up my compass anchor where the line that I drew intersects with the outer circle of my pizza or my pie. So now I have an X drawn in each one of these sections. I'm done with my compass now. I'm going to go back to my ruler. You need to figure out, you don't have to draw these points, but you need to figure out where these X's intersect. So there's an intersection here, and I'm working directly across from that X. There's an intersection here. I'm going to line my ruler up with those 2 points of intersection here. So there's one, there's the other. And if I was accurate it should also meet the center point of all of these lines. So there's the first one. And then we've got the second one. I'm going to keep spinning this around. My third one. You'll also notice that I'm bringing these lines all the way to the edge of the paper. You may not use these lines all the way at the edge of the paper, but we are extending our designs out past our original circle here. So it is going to be helpful for you to have these lines fully extended to the edge of the paper. Your next step is going to be to erase anything that you don't need. So I'm going to erase these X's. I am glad that I drew nice and light. So these are going to erase fine. Make sure you leave the lines intact if you can, so you have those when you're transferring your design. So you can go ahead and erase. Once you erase all these X's, please make sure that you put your name and your hour on the back of the painting. That way we know whose is whose, because right now everybody's looks the same. So make sure you put your name on it. All right, after you've got the page cleaned up, you are good to go. We are going to be transferring our design into these individual pie shapes. So it is very important that each one of these pie shapes are exactly the same size. I'm gonna go ahead and get my example so you can see. On this example here, I've started to trace my design onto my pie here. So you can see that this matches up with this pie segment, and then it's mirrored here and here, which is why we use the mirrors to test our designs. So this is how you lay out the pie or the pizza so that it's ready for you to transfer your design onto.